Lisa?
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Do you guys, because it's such a small group, do you guys want to scooch forward? So you're not sitting way in the back. You can bring your chairs up too. That way you can hear me. Yeah, you can come right on up. We'll just get right into it here. And I have some recipes. And let's see here. So tonight we're going to do, I've been serving this out of the truck. I call it, oh, I think these must be double-sided. You have a second sheet, right? Okay, great. I've been doing this out of the truck and I call it Teriyaki Stir Fry. And people have really been liking it, and I like it because I'll give you a couple ideas, but you can kind of make it so, I mean, you can essentially stir fry. There's a lot of flexibility, but today we're going to do ours with, I'll just show you what all this stuff is. So this is brown rice. So I just cooked brown rice and added salt and pepper, and I did add a little bit of olive oil just so it didn't get really globby. And then these are roasted carrots and shiitake mushrooms. And this is cut up bok choy and actually an Asian vegetable. I don't even know what it is. It's sort of like lemongrass. It's like a long stalk. And I peeled it and then cut it into chunks, and it's a little bit, it adds crunch and it adds the green color that's really nice. So this is the bok choy. So these are the stems to add the crunch, and then the leaves cut up too. And then the mysterious vegetable that I'm not sure what it is. Let me see if I can find a piece of it. And all I did is just peel it. I got it at the farmer's market from Bonamago Farms. I don't know if any of you guys know it, but this is what it, you guys can touch this one and pass it around if you want. I'm not really even sure what that is, but it's a long stalk. And I just told her, hey, I'm doing stir fry. And she gave it to me. And she's at the Kalamazoo Farmer's Market. So the mushrooms, I was, those of you that were late coming in, the mushrooms I got from a local farmer, and they're in season right now too. So those you can buy at the market, the bok choy and the mysterious stalk of something that I bought. Also, at the farmer's market now and in season. And these in the pan, what I've been cooking are onions. And then what I did is I shredded a purple carrot. Photographer's like, is that bacon? Like, no, it's not bacon. But I just shredded it just to add a little bit more texture and color. Because it's I was telling the people that came in early, the purple carrots are yellow in the inside and then dark on the outside. So it's just a different texture, different color. So that's what we're going to add to the stir fry. But I want to show you the sauce first. And that's what the recipe's for. So I'm just going to add this. So right now I have all of my veggies, except the bok choy, together in this pan. And everything is pre-cooked. So what's great about this is if you, let's say one night, you make dinner and you have chicken and you steam some broccoli and whatever, or let's say you roasted some asparagus. What I like about this recipe is you essentially can use all your leftovers. So, and the other thing I really suggest people to do is make their grain. So like brown rice, quinoa, like if you're gonna get out a pot and you're gonna cook a grain, to cook more than what you think you need, and you throw it in salads. So if you like made it the first night and so let's say you're making dinner and we go back to the chicken and broccoli and you're like, oh, we'll have some quinoa or some brown rice or farro or wheat berries or whatever it is. And I wouldn't tell you to like make a cup or 2 cups. I would tell you to make a lot, and then maybe you'd eat it that night with a different sauce, and then maybe you'd do a stir fry, maybe you'd throw it in a soup, make a salad, or you can also freeze grains. So that's one of the number one things I try and get people to like think big when you're at home and you're cooking. Like don't make a cup of rice, make 3 cups of rice. And if you're gonna get out the pot and you're gonna cook it to really make a lot and make that's how you can really be efficient in the kitchen. So this is a great use of leftover grains, and So I just wanted to give you that idea to think big when you're making stuff. So the first thing for our teriyaki, I would say 2 really important things is fresh garlic and fresh ginger. I happen to have at my kitchen, I had some crystallized ginger. So that's what this is. You guys want to smell this before I throw it in? You can just pass it around and stir it. So that's what the crystallized ginger, there's sugar on it. But that is one of the best ways that you can add flavor to a dish. So I would say don't skimp on the garlic and the ginger. Make sure you have that. And they have it, even if you get the jar of minced ginger, that's totally fine. And, so take the shortcuts when you need to and make it work. But I would definitely say to use ginger, not powdered, and garlic, not powdered. Does this smell good? Does it smell okay? All right.
So it's a mix already, ginger and garlic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And a trick that I use does anyone have trouble peeling ginger?
Oh, no, we just use a spoon.
So I never peel it with a peeler or a knife. I just take the edge of a spoon and you take it and then you just peel it off. That way if it, you hit a knob, it doesn't cut you. So this wouldn't work very well, this plastic one, but if you use a spoon, it works really well. So the only thing you really got to watch on this one is to not let your garlic burn. Usually when I cook a dish and it says, if you look at the recipe and it's like onions and garlic, add in the onions and garlic and stir. I always cook my onions for longer than my garlic, and I think that's essentially the longer you're going to cook an onion, the better, the more flavor it's going to have. And low and slow, they get really sweet and that caramelized flavor. And the garlic isn't so much like that. It just sticks to the bottom and it's really easy to burn, and the burnt garlic doesn't taste very good. So, at least not in my experience. So, here, now this is canola oil. You could use olive oil. Another good one to use is sesame oil. I had ran out of sesame oil and didn't make it back to the store, but that would also be, and it also kind of goes with the flavor profile of the, coconut oil would also be a good one. They're all, they're all great choices. So essentially, in the directions I have on here, that you saute the ginger and the garlic. And you want to really be able to smell the garlic, because raw garlic can be really strong and bitter. And essentially there's this relationship between the longer you cook things, sometimes the more of the flavors will soften and the less bitter they will taste. And garlic's one of them. So, and I found too, I have a sister-in-law, she doesn't like garlic. And I put it in everything. I know I'm like, my sister-in-law, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be on your good side. But I will roast a whole head of garlic and put it in dishes, and her ability it's much softer of a flavor for her. And it's much more palatable. So you could put roasted garlic. If you don't really like garlic, or you have someone who's a little bit sensitive to it, I'm just kind of the vein of who doesn't like garlic, but I know. Yeah, but if you're cooking and you have those people in your house, so if you had a whole head of garlic, what I do is I take out the really dry pieces on the outside and throw those away, and then just drizzle a little bit of olive oil and put it in a really slightly sealed foil pouch, and put it in the oven for anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes, or maybe even an hour, just until they're soft. And when you touch the heads when you touch the little cloves in the head, they'll squeeze right out, and that's how you know it's done. Was that a yes, you like garlic? Yeah. I used to live in California, and they had a restaurant called the Stinking Rose. Have you guys ever been to one of those? It was like a garlic restaurant where everything has garlic, and you can walk by and be like, oh my God, that's the Stinking Rose place. But so that's the garlic story. And can you guys start to smell it yet? And yeah, you can stand up and take a peek at whenever you want to. I'm going to let it go just a little bit longer. Does anyone not like ginger? No. Some people say it tastes like soap. I really like it.
And using the crystallized doesn't, in a savory dish, doesn't mess up your flavors?
No, I think a lot of that is because the okay, no problem. Don't be sorry. It's all good. Most, like if you take most dressings or condiments or sauces, they have sugar in them. So it's really not that uncommon, and it really depends on what people are used to. But I didn't find, like I'm gonna try it before I add the coconut sugar and the honey. But when I made it last time with this, I still added the honey.
I understood that you were going to talk a little bit about organic.
Mm-hmm.
Is everything you use organic?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so everything that I have is organic that's here tonight.
Now, do you have any reason why the organic is better than non-organic?
Yeah, I do. One of the main things it depends on what product I'm talking about, what we're talking about. But I would say, as far as produce goes, so the veggies and the greens and the onions and all that, I would say one of the main reasons is for the pesticides and herbicides used. And there is an online resource by the Environmental Workers Group, and it tests, so each year they do these tests, and they'll test produce to see how many pesticides are in them. And depending on the growing conditions of the year and what pesticides the farmers have to use, whatever they're dealing with as far as drought or rainy season or bugs, that's kind of how they determine what pesticides to use. And dependent on that is the amount of pesticides in the food and how much. So like what kind and how much, it's not like a standard line. Like that changes all the time. So this group called the Environmental Working Group, they every year do this research and they test produce, fruits and vegetables, to test how much pesticides and what kind are in all the foods, and they rank them the highest level of toxicity and the lowest level. And they divide them in two groups. So the one is the dirty dozen, and those are the 12 fruits and vegetables that are highest on that list as far as toxicity. So those are the ones that just have the highest amounts of pesticide residue in them. And then there's the clean 15, and the clean 15 is on the other end of the spectrum. So that would be the ones that there isn't as much pesticides if you went to the store and you bought an onion that was organic or an onion that wasn't organic, those differences as far as pesticides are a lot smaller in what they categorize as the clean 15. So some of the ones in the dirty dozen at the top of the list are things like strawberries, blueberries, apples, potatoes, collard greens and kale, grapes. Those are all in the top, the 12 highest. So that's that answer for the produce. And as far as, this is a long answer, isn't it? There's a lot to it. There is. So that was what I would call, and you can see if you guys want to get up, the garlic is starting to brown. And I'm glad I kind of waited. Now I would say it's not burnt, but it's time to move on. So right before I answer that question, I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients and just let it kind of warm and come together.
Now, is everything the other stuff you have here organic though?
Yeah.
What you got there? And
Everything.
Oil and rice?
All of it. Yeah, and
The one farm you talked about, they are not certified organic.
Bonamago.
I know they are.
She gave me that at the farmer's market, but she's not who I mean, all of my other stuff is, but she is, no, she's not. No, but that was actually the second time I've ever bought anything from her.
There's so much difference on being certified organic and
There is.
organic. I mean,
Yeah.
I grow organic. My son grows organic, but you can't call them certified because there's so many
things going around on the environment.
Yeah, and
Doing something.
the farmer that I use, his name is Aaron, and he has a farm in Benton Harbor. It's called Moulter Family Orchards.
Is it just out in Benton Harbor then?
You know, he came up to the Kalamazoo market last year. I have a wholesale account with him, but he doesn't. It wasn't worth his time.
Yeah.
But so I have him that I get my stuff from directly, and he does have a CSA in Kalamazoo. And then the other person that just this year got certified, the name of the farm is Understory Orchard, and they are at the market every week, and that's where like the mushrooms are from.
I know him.
Matt. Yeah.
You're talking about the farmer's market on Bank Street?
Yep, on Bank Street. And the one in Texas Township, this is just the lime juice, that I get from is called Eaters Guild. So I have a few that but they're not in Kalamazoo very much. Yeah. So before I continue to answer your question, I'm just going to add the rest of the ingredients. So I added the lime juice, and I don't measure, as you can tell. That's how you know it's going to be good, though, right? No, I'll taste it. Don't worry. Yep. So this is the rice vinegar, and this is tamari. This is not beer. I buy tamari in a 5-gallon container, so I refill it with this. And then this is honey, and the lime juice I just put in my little ball jar here. And
Why do you use the rice vinegar?
why? A little bit of the tamari is really kind of salty. It's like it's kind of like soy sauce. It's very similar to soy sauce, and it's kind of like making a salad dressing, in that you kind of want an acid to go with the oil and the salt, and that's where the rice vinegar comes in and the lime juice. And I did bring I brought one of my favorite kitchen tools to show you guys. So this is the lime. And if you really wanted to make it limey, another option that you could do too is to zest it. If you have a little zester, you could take that out, and I'm just going to turn this up because I want it to start simmering a little bit. You could get your zester out. Now, I have one of these. I don't have one of the citrus juicers where you go like this. I just think it doesn't work that well, and it hurts my wrist. But I love these things, and it works. Does anyone have one of these? It works opposite the way that you think. So you'd be like, okay, this shape, you put it like this, but you don't. You put it the opposite way, okay? And it catches the seeds, and this thing is awesome. I can't even tell you, because sometimes I get lazy in the kitchen, and I just don't feel like chopping stuff or like taking the extra step. And this thing, I don't know, it just makes getting citrus juice out a lot easier. So I just wanted to show you guys this amazing tool that I love and use every day. That's my citrus. It's way easier, and I like that the seeds, it catches the seeds too, which is important because I'm not, I can't be like sticking my fingers in things, and if you drop a seed in your food, that's one thing, but I can't really be doing that in mine. It's not good. So back to the sauce. I added the honey. I get that from a place in Paw Paw, and the lime, and you might find, is anyone kind of sensitive to salt? The tamari can taste really salty, and that's where the water comes in. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water because I'm assuming it's going to need some. And the nice thing about this sauce is that it will keep for a long time. So I, again, would suggest that you think big and as far as your numbers, and don't make like a little bit of it. You could make a lot of it and store it in the fridge for, I'm guessing, 2 weeks at least, and it would probably keep just fine. And you could have a couple teriyaki stir fries and mix it up and maybe do like a rice one and the quinoa, or another. I don't know, it could just be good you could use this to just cook, put over chicken, like even just a meat dish. So I would inspire you to maybe just consider to think volume. So what I'm gonna do is try and bring it up to temps just so it starts to reduce a little bit. Now, if you want a really thick sauce, more of like a glaze, what you would do at this point is to take some water and add cornstarch to it and just add that in and it would thicken right up. I try to not use, I have organic cornstarch that I use, but I don't, I try to not use it just because I think we get enough corn products anyway. This sauce that I have here in this container, I reduced for like 2.5 hours. So this one's a little bit, you know, I think the flavors get a little bit more concentrated and some of the liquid just evaporates off. But I'm not saying, you do not need to cook this. I mean, if I was at home and I was trying to make dinner in 20 minutes and I had planned this out of, okay, we're gonna do stir frying this night and this on this night, at this point I would use it. I am gonna let it cook just for a second to answer, what was your name, ma'am? Eileen. Just to go and answer a little bit more of your question. So the produce, that is the big thing with the produce, is the pesticide. That's one of them. And another one that is worth considering is the GMO factor. So all of the produce that's certified organic is also non-GMO, and the GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. So that is a cause that's been important to me and that I believe in. And that also plays a part in any eggs or any meat products, because the animals, it comes back to what they eat. So all of the animal products that I use, so any of the eggs, any chicken, pork, beef, any of that is they eat non-GMO grain if they're gonna eat grain. So that's part of it. And recently, I think the name is glyphosate, and that is part of the pesticide that they use for Roundup Ready corn. And there's new research out that links that with cancer and also the gluten sensitivity and celiac disease. So that's just another factor in why I choose to source the ingredients from where I do.
But then there are only certain farmers that you can.
Yes. And that's essentially, I'm limited to, I source between Understory Orchard, and they're at the market all the time. And I use Moulter Family Orchards, and they're nice because they have fruit. They have cherries, strawberries. They don't have blueberries, but they have plums and apples too.
Where they at?
They're the ones in Benton Harbor. But they deliver to Kalamazoo if you're part of their CSA share. They have a Kalamazoo CSA, and they're awesome. He's the 5th generation family farmer. He's the one who made it organic, and him and his wife, they have 2 little adorable girls, and they run their farm. And then the Eaters Guild, and they're at Texas Township. And then as far as meat, you've got a couple options. Roseland Organic Farms, he's based in Decatur. And then there is a farmer at the farmer's market every week. He's not certified organic, but he uses all non-GMO feed. And all of his animals walk around and eat grass, so they're all pastured. And his name is Norm Carlson. And the name of his farm is like Naturally Norm's or Carlson Farms, one of the two. Yeah. I think his website is Naturally Norm's. There's sometimes on my invoices, it's one versus the other. So that, the meat products, he has the highest quality meat, in my opinion, available to the area.
Did you shop at Earth Fair? I mean, we don't have that many resources.
Yeah,
Go to the store and get everything.
no,
They're not all
you got to be really careful because they do have all of their meat that I've seen is all genetically modified feed, and none of it's pastured. Like the farm, Norm, he has like a chicken pen that is on a trailer, and it's Joel Salatin is the farmer that invented this way of raising chickens. But basically the chickens live in the coop, and then they move the coop to a new green pasture, and then the chickens eat that land, and then they move the coop again, so they're in fresh green pasture. So it's not like they're stuck in a pen and they're always eating new grass. But from last time I was in Earth Fair, they didn't have any local or organic meat or eggs.
People's Food Co-op is probably a good place to
Yes, Yeah, I would say that they are better for those, and they do have more local produce there too that's organic. And Eaters Guild and Aaron and Understory, the 3 farms that I mentioned, all sell food to the co-op too, regularly. So, you do have to be careful at the co-op because they do have some brands that aren't reliable, and that's what's really tricky is you just have to be smarter than, you just have to be worried about it, which I don't like, but you have to be like
You have to really look at the label.
Yeah.
See what they label it.
Yeah.
It's the same one,
Yeah, but if you see the Norm Carlson or the Carlson Farms, his stuff is all non-GMO. So I think he hands down
The one that has, he had like a bulletin board with the pictures of his
chickens.
animals.
I don't know.
Somebody who had that.
He's sort of in the middle of the farmer's market.
He's near the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, but there was a guy that he did like salt cured pork and stuff instead of nitrate cured stuff.
I don't know if who you're talking about is Dave at Young Earth Farms. It might be, and he does use GMOs. But those are my local sources as far as that goes. Norm has a store that you can buy stuff year round, and all the stuff is frozen. You can get turkeys from him for Thanksgiving or Christmas or. I'm trying to convince one of them to build one right now. Not right now, but there is a farm in Battle Creek called Good News Farms, and they do have a greenhouse, so you can get like peppers and greens. But yeah, those are good questions. It's really tricky to find those answers. Okay, so if you want to come look at the sauce, it's starting to reduce. I might try it at this point. I think I might actually try it. I don't see a spoon down there. And is it starting to smell good in here? Okay. So essentially at this point, I think it tastes a little bit too salty. So I'm gonna add a little bit more water. And that's the tamari, because the tamari is like soy sauce, okay? So I'm just. The main reason is because the tamari doesn't have wheat in it. It does say that. I've printed out a little thing on the bottom of your recipe, and it talks about the difference between tamari and soy sauce, and the tamari is Japanese, from what I understand, and so it's a little bit more specific. So rather than just soy sauce being in Asia, that the tamari is specifically from Japan, and that there's no wheat added to it. I can't, because I think part of it too is I use it as a base for flavor. So I put it in salad dressings and sauces, but I don't think it's like substituting something that doesn't taste as good. I think it tastes just as good. Yeah. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the sauce and put it in a bowl, and I'm going to do the bok choy and the greens. So if you want to do like a 1-pan dish at home, I'm just really lazy with dishes because I don't have a dishwasher, and I do a lot of dishes at work because we don't buy anything pre-made. We have to make it all. So I'm going to add more oil to the pan, and we're going to kind of start over, and the first thing I'm going to do is add the bok choy and the greens. I just want to make sure it all looks good. Yeah, and the stalk that I don't know what it is.
Is this it?
No, that is green garlic. And this is the ingredient. This will inspire you. If you look on the other side, if you flip over in the back, there's a salad dressing. So this is something that you can get from the farmer's market now. This is growing. A lot of farmers have it. And it's called green garlic. And it's, yeah, they're really close. But if you look at the recipe on the back, I just wanted to inspire you guys to maybe want to make a salad this week. I have a program, it's called it's a salad CSA. So I do one salad a week for 5 weeks in the spring, and I do soup ones in the fall and in the winter. So people subscribe to kind of my program, and you get one a week, and you don't know what you get, you just get what you get, and it changes every week. So I've been making a lot of salad. I make about 50 salads a week for my customers that are all in the program. And last week I did Understory Orchard as fresh spinach. So I did spinach and roasted asparagus and a lemon dressing and cashews and shredded carrots. This week I did, the only choice I have is spinach. He still doesn't have anything else growing, so it was another spinach salad. And it was Chev cheese from Evergreen Creamery, which is in Fenville, and roasted shiitake mushrooms. And I did almonds in a pan like this with olive oil and rosemary and salt and pepper, and then cut them up. And I did a parsley vinaigrette. Yeah. So for the next 3 weeks, the people will get salads. And if you guys are interested in finding where the truck is or any of my programs, all you need to do is give me your email address and I can put you on our email list. I send emails out about once a month. So you can sign up for that if you want. Okay, so the greens cook quick. I just wanted to wilt them a little bit and just cook the bok choy just a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to add in the rice. It's a lot of rice. It's just brown rice. Cooked. I might do it, when I pull it off of the stove, I try and make it so it has a little bit of bite to it because it will steam and finish. And when I'm cooking it, I'm doing a lot of rice at a time. So I think it cooks a lot after you take it out because there's just so much volume. It's really hard to cool it down actually. And I think this is going to be enough. And the thing that's nice is, because it's kind of a stir fry, I don't know, you don't need to be exact. So basically, if you want to make it, I put on there, if you want to really go vegetable heavy, you could put in about half vegetables, half rice. Or like I said, if you can do quinoa too. So I'm just trying to, at this point, I'm just trying to heat the rice through. Because it's already pre-cooked. The greens are pre-cooked. So I'm just trying to heat the rice. I'm going to get a really full pan here in a second. And I'm going to add a huge scoop of the onions. So this is what's great. So if you did a steamed broccoli or you roasted broccoli, you just put all of your pre-cooked veggies in here. And that's what's nice about it, is you can put whatever you want in here. I thought broccoli would go really well, but we don't have that for a few more months. So I'm just going to stir and incorporate, and then I'm going to add the sauce at the end. And I also, if I was cooking dinner, I live alone, but let's just say I was cooking dinner for me and someone else. I don't really cook dinner for myself because I'm sick of cooking at the end of the day, but yeah, I usually don't want to eat the leftovers. By the time I'm smelled them and touched them, I don't really want to eat the leftovers. But I think other additions, this is also just to give you guys ideas to make it work for you and what you like. I served this out of the truck last week at a corporate event, and I put chicken in it. So this is how I would suggest meal planning. Let's say you cook a whole chicken, or if you have a big family, 2 chickens, and you have roast chicken the first night. And then let's say you take the carcass and maybe put it in a pot and do soup, or essentially I just picked apart chicken in at this point. So right after I add the rice, I take the chicken, and that's what I essentially try and pre-prep as many ingredients as I can ahead of time, and then add them at the last and combine a bunch of different things with them. So roast a bunch of vegetables, cook a bunch of meat, make a bunch of grains, and then throughout the week, just do different combinations of those 3. That way you're not chopping onions and roasting vegetables every night, because I know you guys don't have time for that. And when I go to the kitchen and I have a commercial kitchen, it's I don't have time for that either, because time is money for me. So I'm gonna add this sauce because I know it tastes good because I made it last week and messed with it for 3 hours. But so I think everything's hot here. And I'm just, yeah, it's the same sauce. I'm just gonna stir it and then I'm gonna taste it. And you can add a little bit more on the side, like on the top. You guys wanna come look or anything? I'm just stirring it. Does it smell good yet? And this is just my hot plate. You'll probably have a lot more luck on your stove. That's what I like about grains is they're really like, I throw grains in salads. You could also, just like different cooking techniques to add variety. You could do kind of like a risotto one night if you made brown rice. And there's just a lot of different.
So you just use like one of these grains, or do you mix them together?
I would do one. But I mean, if you had a little bit of both, I think it would taste fine. Because as long as everything's pre-cooked. And what I'm going for too, part of like me choosing the vegetables that I chose, is trying to make something that's really pretty. And if you look at it, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you know, the green really makes it pretty, and the onions and the carrots and the first thing that we do before we taste the food is you smell the food. So that impacts. And the second thing you do is you see it. So if you look down, you're like, oh, that's really pretty. Look at all those, different colors. And once it's in your mouth, it's the texture and it's the flavor and it's all of that. But I like this because it's kind of a lighter meal and it's easy and you can just use whatever leftovers you have. I think it tastes pretty good.
Now, how do you use
The green garlic.
garlic in?
So
Same way, you just cut it up?
in the recipe, I saute them,
Just saute them.
or I'll add them to the top as a garnish, or I saute them and then throw them, in a sauce. The one that the recipe that I gave you, you put them raw in a salad dressing with avocados. And I thought that's the recipe on the second page, and I thought that looked.
That seems like the worst part about an avocado, unless you eat the whole thing, it spoils in there.
Now, is it ramps, that's those curly Q things at the market right now?
Get big leaves, don't they?
What color are they?
They're green and they're like a curly Q spiral thing.
I feel like the ramps are more purple. It could be though. It could be a different variety.
It's just, I have no, what would you do with that? I have no idea.
I would treat it as like a leek.
Oh, okay.
I think it's because the winter was so long, but I ate a lot of like roasted vegetables, and I think if you just chopped them up and threw them in the oven and roasted them, that they would be really good.
Now, would they be as dirty as leeks are?
Probably because they grow on the ground similar. The ramps are good though. I would say they would be good in here in a stir fry too. Just saute them. Did you get one? 3 more? What do you guys think? Anything stick out as far as any other comments?
Got crunchy onions in it. Isn't that onion?
It's the bok choy.
Bok choy, no? No, because all white.
I would like less sauce.
Less sauce, is it a little bit too
I
strong?
would like to have maybe more rice or less sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it makes it quite salty.
And that's the tamari.
Too salty.
If it feels like it's too salty, remember when I tried it and I was like, it tastes a little bit salty, add more water.
This is good.
The other thing you can do if it tastes too salty is water, or you can throw in more lime juice or more vinegar too. That's what you can do. Another topping that I thought of that would be good is these chopped up pistachios to add crunch too, for forgot to put those on your plates, but that's what I like about the stir fries. You can do whatever you want, and I think pork would be really good in there, leftover pork or leftover chicken. And if you put tempeh in there, I think that would be good too. Tempeh? So that's a good question. So everyone's pretty much heard of tofu, right? It's very similar in the fact that it's made out of soybeans, but the difference is tempeh is fermented, so it's it's easier to digest. So if you're looking for a non-animal protein, I would definitely suggest tempeh over tofu.
How does it look? Does it look like tofu?
No, because it looks almost like itty bitty pieces of rice, all kind of glammed together in a sheet. So they sell it at, I haven't looked at Earth Fare, but it's definitely for sale at the co-op. It's refrigerated. So, and I actually know where it is in their store too. It's the back fridge in the corner next to the cheese. I know that store like the back of my hand now after shopping there. But and the tempeh it's kind of like tofu in the fact that however you cook it is how it's going to taste. And with tempeh, one of the things too that really helps is to add texture, so it's not soft. Like that's one of the things I think about the vegetable proteins that can be weird is you're just kind of biting in something that feels soft, and it just feels, I think, a little bit weird. You know, texturally, it doesn't necessarily like peel apart and so what I do with the tempeh is I put coconut oil in my pan and I kind of fry it on both sides. So it gets a layer of brown and then it's really good. And you could chop that up and throw it in there and that would be awesome.
So does it look like, sort of like tofu or not?
It looks like tofu in the fact that it doesn't look like fake meat. Like it looks like it's but it almost kind of looks like this rice if I would to mash it together slightly and make a block out of it.
It's protein.
And it's protein, yeah. And I just suggest that for a easier, more digestible form.
The tofu is made with, a lot of it's made with soy that's genetically modified.
Yes,
Really is
that is a big one that if you are going to, too much soy tends to be like a hormone disruptor. And the process in which they make tofu and the process in which they make tempeh, the fermentation process of making tempeh is just easier. The body is just better absorbs the tempeh. So it's both. It's part of it. Yeah, part of it is that it's soy and soy is a hormone disruptor, and the other part is the fermentation. So that's what makes. Those are the two things to look for with the soy products. So like miso is a really great option, and then so is the tempeh as far as soy products. But I would, if you can, I would try and steer away from soy milk, soybean oil, tofu. We don't use any of that. I would see if you can do tempeh instead. It might be a little bit more, but I don't think it's that much more. Yeah, and it comes in sheets, and I kind of cut them and chop it up. But I'm trying to think if you were to cook it in a pan. So if I was going to add tempeh to this, I would have, let's say you have all of your rice cooked and all of your veggies done. The first thing I would do is maybe make the sauce, maybe even put that in a separate pan and let that cook. And then put coconut oil or canola oil and see if you can kind of get a nice sear on either side of the tempeh. And then set it aside, throw everything back in the pot, and then throw in the tempeh once it's done. Yeah, that's what I would suggest for that. I really like, the reason why I got on the tamari kick and this, I call it like teriyaki, and most people really like teriyaki. It's like, ooh, yeah, that sounds good. And you can make it as sweet as you want and kind of like that citrusy from the lime. I prefer lime with these flavor combinations, but you could also do lemon. But the coconut sugar is a great way to add just a little bit of sweetness. But I really like stir fries because it's a really great way. It's like sometimes all you need is a sauce, and your leftovers can turn into something that feels like a really great meal.
How do you run your business? People order the food, or how do you do that?
Most of the time that the truck is out, we are, a lot of times we're at a private event, so we do a lot of catering. But as far as the public events, as far as the food truck, like the Lunchtime Lives Friday in the park, we have the farmers markets, and we'll be open for all those, and you just walk up and order, and we usually have a gluten-free option and a vegetarian option, as well as pastured meats. And the programs that we run off-season are the CSA programs, and the CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And the idea is it's a subscription service. So when I got my counts for how many salads I had, I called Matt from Understory Orchard and I said, okay, I'm committing to buying greens from you this many pounds every week for the next 5 weeks, and you just tell me what you have and I'm going to buy it. So, and he knew ahead of time, I'm going to do this program. I think I'm going to need about this. I had an idea of how many orders I was going to have. I said, I think I'm going to have about 50 orders. I think I'm going to order about 9 to 10 pounds of salad a week from you. And that way I can order with him and he knows how much to plant. And then, so I can support him in what he's doing too. And that's part of the reason why you don't get a menu. You know, like last week was really cold. And I was supposed to get arugula, but the arugula didn't grow in time, so I had spinach 2 weeks in a row, and that's just part of what I send out to my customers too. You know, that's part of the way that I make the food. You know, is like, well, we have what we have. Yeah. So usually I don't have a lot of choice with my produce because I don't buy from very many people. I can't remember what's the name of the lady at Bonamago? She gave me, I stopped by the market last week and it was raining and she was packing up and she gave me a bag of free stuff. And she's like, try this in your stir fry. It was pouring rain and I don't even know what time it was. And she's like, we're packing up, we're leaving, just take this bag. And I was like, okay. But it can be tough when you want to eat locally or eat organically because it's different. It's just very different than just going to the store and buying whatever's for sale. So,
So the spicy, sort of spicy hot taste in that, was that from the ginger or what was that from?
yeah, from the ginger.
From the ginger?
Because there's no other spice. And that's what's weird is usually when I cook, you know, I'm adding salt, I do a lot of flavor combinations with cumin and paprika. Those two spices, they just marry really well together. So I do a lot of stuff with that kind of flavor profile.
Just regular paprika or small?
Either one. Yeah.
Huh, never would have thought that.
Yeah, I like those two together a lot. And then, you know, depending on how I feel, if I want to get crazy, throw in some oregano or coriander. But I do a lot of stuff that I feel like just tastes like that. And then sometimes I do stuff more a little bit Italian where it's oregano and parsley. But essentially, I just try and use as many herbs as I can, and I try and add a lot of flavor with texture, too. And that's where the bok choy came in. I just couldn't resist, and she's like, do you want this free bok choy? I'm like, I'm doing stir fry. You know, because it's the texture, too, and that's, you know, no one really wants to bite into a bunch of rice that tastes soggy, and that's what's nice about the roasted carrots, rather than sautéed, is they kind of have that mouthfeel of a roasted vegetable. It's just a little bit different, and then the crunch from the bok choy. I think they marry well together, but I think broccoli would be awesome in there. I mean, yeah, I even think that you could do it, you could even do, I'm almost thinking like a summer style and put like fresh sweet corn in there and just saute the sweet corn, and I think that would be fabulous. Anything, yeah, tomato, like you could even do kind of a stir fry like that, just like real quick, almost add them at the end. Yeah, so, and that's one of the things that I really cut down. For me, time is money because I'm either paying someone to help me or it's my time. And if I'm cooking, I could be doing something else. So, and it's really hard because, you know, I don't open anything from a package and serve it. We make all of our own sauces, all of our own condiments, everything. We get whole produce that we have to wash and chop, and it's usually dirtier than stuff you buy at the store. I mean, it's a lot more labor. So for me, you know, running my business, time is money, and for you guys, like, I mean, sure, yeah, you might like to cook, but I think most of the time you have other stuff to do. And do you really want to spend extra time standing there and extra time doing dishes? So I really encourage people to make big batches of grains and maybe just go to the store, and whether it's amaranth, quinoa, farro, wheatberry, millet, like try something new, make a bunch of it, make enough to eat it for dinner one night, throw it in a salad, or maybe make a quick soup the next night, chop all of your onions in one day, like really try and think big as far as what you're producing, because I think it's one of the best things that you can do to just save time. And time is money and all that. It's your most precious resource, you know, as just busy Americans. So that's what I would say. And just to try and prep a lot of stuff ahead of time, cook a lot of grains. And that's why I like this, is because it just, one sauce, one really yummy sauce can really change a dish. So, yeah. Do you guys have questions? Yes.
So like, what are you gonna do with those leftovers?
Do you want more?
Yes.
Yes. You guys can have more. Yes. Help yourself. Any other questions?
Can you talk more about your salad and soup program?
Yeah, so the way that works, we have a drop-off in Kalamazoo and a drop-off in Portage. And then if we have, if you're at at like a business or a neighborhood and you get 5 or more orders, I come deliver it for free. And I do all of the orders online, so I just email it out and say, this is what we have, a little bit.
Yeah. Have my son upstairs try it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
just a
more.
little bit too.
Thank you.
That good?
Very, yeah, that was very good.